Hi, I'm Andrew Fluschi, your Virginia traffic and misdemeanor defense attorney. Today I want to talk to you about a crazy thing that I saw an attorney do in court the other day. If you're hiring a traffic and misdemeanor defense attorney for your case, you need to make sure that they're going to do the work for you. And I saw a case where an attorney simply, in my opinion, did not do the work and did their client a disservice. I was in one of my local courts handling cases. And as I always do, I was looking for the officer for one of my clients because that's part of my job, is to look for the officer, talk with the officer, see if they can prove what they're claiming happened, make sure my client was polite and respectful, there was nothing out of the ordinary involved. If it's a speed case, I check over the tuning fork paperwork or the speedometer calibration to make sure that they can prove that their equipment was working. That's part of our job as defense attorneys, to look for you and see if the Commonwealth can prove their case. And then, only then, if they can prove their case, then it's our job to try to mitigate the case, try to defend you on the sentencing and try to get the best result we can. In a lot of traffic cases, we might can get the case reduced. In this particular case, the officer for one of my clients was not present. I hadn't found him. I was looking for him for quite a while that morning, and he wasn't there. So another attorney was called, had a whole pile of cases, and went up and told the judge, "Judge, I plead no contest for all my clients, none of them are here." Okay, so that's not objectionable, I suppose, if you know that all those cases are lined up and you're trying to streamline it. However, the judge got to a case and he called the officer's name, who I knew wasn't present in the courtroom. The judge called the name out. Another officer stood up and told the judge that he hadn't seen that officer present that day. And the judge turned to the attorney, kind of asking, didn't ask, but kind of looked at her like, "What do you plan to do?" And she proceeded to argue sentencing with the driving record, which is a fine thing if the officer had been present. And she should have changed her plea to not guilty and asked for that case to be dismissed. Instead, that client was found guilty of a speeding ticket, was reduced from reckless driving to speeding, but the case should have been thrown out because the officer wasn't even present. When my case was called a little bit later, I knew that officer still wasn't there. I pled not guilty for my client, and the case was dismissed. Now, all cases depend upon the specific facts of the case, and that's an unusual result. Most of the time, the officers are present in court. The point of the video is for you to understand that you need an attorney who's going to do the work for you. They're not going to just treat your case like a run-of-the-mill case and just run you through a grinder and treat you just like everybody else. It's a simple fact that you have to investigate every case. Like it's the most important case on my docket that day. Every case I have to investigate, talk with the officer, check the paperwork, and go from there. In some courts, I'm the only defense attorney who actually checks over the tuning fork calibrations or the speedometer calibrations. I've had many cases where I'll check them over, and occasionally when there's an issue, I've had other defense attorneys come up to me and ask, "Hey, what was that issue you saw?" I've even had officers refer defense attorneys over to me and say, "Hey, you might want to talk to Mr. Fluschi, there's an issue with my paperwork." And people aren't asking the questions. Defense attorneys aren't doing their job in some of these cases, and it's very, very concerning. As a consumer, you should be concerned as well. Do your homework about the attorney you're hiring. Make sure you're hiring somebody who's going to do the work and do the absolute best job for you. In most cases, I would say, the paperwork's in order, the officer says you're polite, the officer's there. So in a lot of cases, these issues aren't going to win the day. However, in some cases, they can win the day, and in some cases, the officer might say, "No, the client was rude," but maybe we can kind of diffuse that and apologize and get them to not say that to the judge. So there's different tactics we can use, and it's important for your defense attorney to do the work and defend you. If you have a case in Virginia, I would love to talk with you about it. Contact my office, and if I can't help you, if it's not one of my local courts, we can absolutely connect you with a local attorney who can help.